Welcome to Man 360. I'm your host, Brian. Today on the program, I talk with football legend Tony Dungy about how he and his family dealt with the loss of his son. We'll head outdoors to have a chat with my friend Aaron about how to choose the right pocket knife. Then we'll take a trip to St. Augustine, Florida to talk about the oldest city in the continental United States. We have musical artist Sean B. and his producer Gregatron in studio, and we'll have them share a little bit about the motivation behind their new album, and we'll have see Sean's latest music video. At the end of the program, we'll do our 360 review and talk about what we learned today. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. Welcome to Man 360. As a Hall of Fame Super Bowl champion, player, and coach, Tony Dungy has dedicated his life to the discipline of sports and also a vibrant and verbal relationship with Jesus. Tony has become synonymous with men's leadership and his heart to see men not just survive this life, but to thrive in all areas. You'll hear Tony share about dealing with loss and how even though great things were happening in the football world for him, God helped him walk through a very dark and difficult time in his life. It was a wonderful interview that you will really enjoy. Here's my interview with coach, player, and football Hall of Famer, Tony Dungy. So Tony, thank you for being here on Man 360. And I just wanted to be able to share a little bit about your journey and how God really brought you through some very intense things in your life. I know in 2003 or 2005, you lost your son. And I really feel like there was, in reading and seeing about you and your life, that there was some real gold that God developed in you through that time.
There was. I mean, we have a lot of things that go well for you and go right, and you get a lot of accolades, and there's a lot of things to say praise the Lord about. Mm-hmm. And that's awesome, and that helps people. But that's not real life. Real life is going to be ups and downs. And so when you have a down, and a devastating one like that, like losing a child, then people are looking and say, okay, I want to see if this faith is real now. Yeah. And what is this all about when it's not perfect?
Right.
And so to be able to say, God is still God, He's still got a plan. I don't understand it. I have no idea why, but I'm still going to follow the shepherd.
Yeah, and I know you obviously were involved in the NFL when all this happened, so you're a public figure, people are watching you, you're kind of in a fishbowl a little bit. And so how do you feel like you dealt, or maybe what were some of the challenges in the public realm, but also personally at home, similarities or differences there too in dealing with pain?
I think I wanted to let people know that the person that they saw in the public eye was the real person. And so I had to be the same at home as I was in the public eye. Yeah. And that was tough. That was difficult because bearing your emotions and showing your hurts and your pain in front of other people is not something we want to do. But I wanted to let people know it is painful, it is difficult, but because of my faith in Christ, that's how our family could get through it.
Yeah, for sure. What do you feel like you did well, maybe going through that season in time? I know that you can kind of always look at things you didn't do well, or maybe things you wish you would have known when you went through it. But maybe what were things that like I said, you did well, or maybe things and challenges that you wish you would have known that you were like, oh, I wish I would have done that?
I think when we have a tragedy or a tough situation, it either pushes us away from the Lord temporarily or draws us closer. And I think we as a family, we drew closer. And we said all of these difficulties, we've got to pray more, we've got to read more, we've got to communicate with God more. Yeah. So we did that very well. And the only thing that, had I known, I might have done a little differently, is everybody in the family has different emotions at different times, and we didn't realize that. We thought we'd all be kind of sad, and then you all really come out of it at the same time, and it wasn't that way. Different periods of time, ups and downs. I'm feeling good, the kids are in a down mode, my wife's feeling good, I'm down, and having to navigate through all of that, we could have done a better job there.
Yeah. Do you feel like that was good for, and maybe the back end of that, where maybe your wife was up and you were down, or your wife was down and you were up, where you could kind of balance and help each other out?
We did have to help each other out at that time. And what it's done for me now going forward, it's been 13 years, and talking to other families who go through it, I can
Yeah.
alert them to that. Hey,
Yep.
this is going to happen. Don't think it's strange. Don't
Yeah.
get upset at your wife when she's
Right.
happy and you're not, or vice versa.
Right.
Know that you have to work with each other and pull each other through those times.
Yeah. And I know I read in an interview, I think, that you said that you regretted not hugging your son and making a personal contact with him and kind of just doing the traditional, I love you too.
See you later.
See you later, have a good
Yeah.
day. How do you feel like God helped you walk through that regret? And then even today, how do you walk through those things with your relationship with God?
You never know. That's what I learned. You never know when is going to be the last time you see someone.
Yeah.
And we always take that for granted. I'll
sure.
do this interview and I'll say, hey, see you later, Brian. Talk to you soon.
Right.
And I may never see you again. But that's okay, as long as we understand that. And for me, I didn't have regrets that I didn't spend enough time with my son,
Yeah.
that we didn't have that great relationship.
Yep.
I just kind of think, man, I wish if I'd have known that was going to be the last time. So now I have a little bit different take on it, and I kind of try to always treat it like this might be the last time
Yeah.
you see someone.
Well, it's interesting how many times God really talks about the importance of in the relationships that we have. Obviously, a relationship with Jesus, but also with each other. Just in the church, partner being a part of a body of believers, a body of a church, but also in a family too. That we don't take those relationships for granted.
No,
It's important.
And my family was blessed with long life. My wife's mother is 91. She's got aunts who are 100, and so
Wow.
we're seeing these
That's
having
awesome.
parties, and there's all these 90-year-olds there. So you
Right.
think everybody's going to be around all the time. My
Yeah.
mom lived to 81. My
Yeah.
dad to 78. So you think that's the way it's going to be. And when someone passes away at 18,
Yeah.
we're not always ready for it.
Yeah.
But God says tomorrow's not promised you. We can't look at it as a negative. Oh, his life got cut short. That was what God gave him.
Yeah.
And we've got to be blessed for the times that we do have these relationships.
Yeah.
No matter how short or how long they are.
Absolutely. What do you feel like is one thing, if you could tell men in walking through that pain, especially in loss? I think, men don't normally deal with things well, I don't think, in processing anything emotionally, because I think sometimes we're so busy taking care of everyone else that we're like, we'll take care of that later. But what do you feel like is one piece of advice that you can give to men going through pain?
Don't be afraid to share it with other people. Don't try to do it yourself. One of my favorite verses that came out of that, the Apostle Paul in the beginning of 2 Corinthians, he says, I've been through a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Christ has comforted me so
Yep.
I can comfort other people. And so
That's
Paul
awesome.
sharing his pain
Yeah.
helped other people. And that's why we have it. So to go through that but not share it with anybody else and just ball it up inside and say,
Yeah.
I made it through and God helped me. That's not what he wants us to do. He
Yeah.
wants us to help others and reach out when we need it.
For sure. I think that's really where we get mileage out of the issues and pain and things that happen in life, is when we're give to someone else, or we're not afraid to open up. That's where God can really start to work, and I think it can help make men vulnerable in a good way.
And then there becomes a purpose for it. What is the
Yeah.
purpose of my son dying at 18?
Yep.
Well, to let me know that God is still going to be there, and then I can share that with other people.
Yeah.
God is awesome even in your disappointments.
Yeah.
And so if I can share that, then there is a purpose.
That's powerful. Well, can you pray for our men that are watching, and just encourage them, specifically going through pain or loss? And I think it's important too that they can open up, that they can be vulnerable, not just with God, but also with other people that they trust too.
Yeah. Amen. Lord, I just thank you for your promise to never leave us or forsake us, that
God.
you'll walk through the valley of the shadow of death with us. And it doesn't matter where we go, what we're going through, you're there. But we've got to rely on that. We've got to utilize that. And I just pray for these men out there that if they are going through something that's difficult, that's tough, that they won't turn from you, but turn towards you and draw closer to each other. Get that comforting, uplifting spirit from other men. Be vulnerable, and also reach out and share and help those who need it. That's what we're called to do, and we just pray that we will do that and honor your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Tony, thanks for being here.
No, thank you.
And just praying continued blessings on you. I know you have a lot of leadership initiatives and things that you're doing as well, and just the ministry. I really appreciate you being in the public eye, but really pushing and using your platform, as we mentioned, about just proclaiming Jesus and everything. So we
Amen.
love you and appreciate you.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
So welcome to another outdoor segment of Man 360. I've got my good friend Aaron here, who I consider a professional.
Whoa.
And a well-knowledged and versed guy, especially when it comes to knives. He has a YouTube channel and online presence called Gideon's Tactical. And I don't know if a lot of people know this. If they know you, maybe they're watching this, that you actually started out only doing knives.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of like the only thing you did. So I thought, hey, who
That
better
was
to
my
talk to?
bread and butter. And that's how I spread
Cut
it.
the bread, cut the bread, spread the butter. That's good. So yeah, I want you to talk a little bit to the guys about, how do you pick a good knife and kind of just the background about, what's out there.
Right, and particularly pocket knives is what we're
Yes,
talking
pocket
about.
knives,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, so, it's really easy. I think for a lot of people, there's one of two, encounters with pocket knives. Either you walk into your local, sporting goods store and you see a bunch of stuff with like survival and Navy SEAL, and like sharp angles and lots of teeth and blacked out. That's got to be good, right? Or maybe you have, like the hand-me-down buck knife, classic buck knife with wood handles that your grandfather had and used hunting, and maybe took it to Vietnam or something. And those are really like your two, levels of knowledge with a pocket knife. But there is a whole world of pocket knives out there that it can become a whole hobby if you want it to be. And it's a lot of fun. So when you're going into looking for a good pocket knife, there's just some simple things to consider. Is obviously budget, because you can go, Brian, you're rocking today.
Yeah.
A pocket knife
Steel will. Actually illegal to carry in your pocket around town. We're up here hiking up
right.
the mountains, but
Yeah, so know your knife laws. That's always a good one. But
Yeah.
This is an Italian-made $200 knife, but you don't need to spend $200 to get a good knife. Today I'm carrying a $30 knife made in China. And what's funny is that regardless if you have some, Ferrari, Italian-made super steel blade,
super steel,
or a Honda Civic gets you around town, at the end of the day, a knife cuts stuff, and you're gonna have to resharpen it if you use it. So it really just depends on your price point and what you want out of your product. Are you looking for something to carry more in the outdoors and go hunting with, and lots of hand time? It's in your hand constantly and you're using it for hours on end. Or is it something that you just want to open a package, when Amazon delivers the next package to your door, and open a food, packaging that is giving you a hard time, and open a letter, and that's about it. So it depends on how you want to deploy the knife, on what type of style and
Right.
what you want to go for.
Well, you mentioned it too. Even you mentioned deployment. There's thumb flippers. There's pocket. There's all different types of configurations, and really, it's kind of limitless.
Yeah.
So, what would you say is the most important thing when choosing or picking a pocket knife? What would you say is the one most important thing to keep in mind? And I know you're a knife guy, so you want to say,
You're like,
here's my
"Oh,
top
man."
12 of 640 things I should do, right? So what is just one thing, and maybe somebody just like, maybe I should need to get a pocket knife. Like I've got this little piece of crap thing that keeps breaking. I need to get something good.
I think one of the main things is, if you're a lefty, which is about 10% of the population, make sure that you're looking for something that there are plenty of knives out there that are ambidextrous, that are well designed for a lefty.
That's good.
It's really sad when I meet somebody who's left-handed and they're rocking a right-hand only knife, and they're having to carry it weird and they don't really enjoy it. So there are absolutely ambidextrous.
Which it seems ridiculous to me that there would actually, you need to think about, because I'm a righty, we're righties.
Right.
That you'd have to actually think about carrying it in weirdly in your left hand for people.
Right. And so there are absolutely, ambidextrous blades out there. But I would say one of the main things is how does it feel in the hand? I think a lot of people forget about that. They look at the blade and it's cool. It's got razor teeth and, like angles on it that look really like deadly. So that's got to be good, right? And a lot of times handle material is really awkward, or it's really slick, and maybe, around town, slick is fine. It's like looks pretty with the wood on it or whatever, but out here in the woods, it would be terrible, and it's gonna, slide out of your hand and just not be fun, and vice versa. So does the handle look organic? There's a term out there called like a broom handle design. Does it kind of look like a broom handle and organic and like a lot of other tools? And if it does, then it'll probably be very comfortable in the hand and you'll enjoy using it. If it's really awkward with lots of angles and abrupt, sharp, transitions, it's gonna hurt and just not be fun to use.
Well, and so per all of that information, we're going to provide a little space on our man360.tv website
that you can go to. I'm going to actually talk a little further with Aaron when we get off camera and have him give us some kind of tips and tricks, and maybe even places that he purchases those blades. You know, you can always go to Gideon's Tactical, you know, to his YouTube page, and if you just want to geek out about blades, we have a lot of friends actually that we've connected with around Colorado, just that like blades, like, you like blades, and Aaron's recognized or whatever, being in Colorado. It's funny that people just want to geek out about blades, and I'm like, for me, most all of my best blades, I mean, I've had some stuff, I've got a couple blades that I purchased myself, and Aaron, the good thing about Aaron, I appreciate this about him and our friendship, like, he's never been like, oh, that's a cool blade, but it's not as cool as the one I gave you, because I have so many, like, specifically pocket knives that he gave me. And it's just interesting how, you know, you can just make so many different decisions that way. So we want to help you with some of those purchasing kind of ideas or thoughts. And again, just maybe open your mind to that. Maybe you're like, I don't really think about carrying a pocket blade, but, you know, maybe I should. And maybe I should have something maybe I can hand down. Aaron was talking about, you know, maybe having, or maybe even purchasing a nicer blade or knife that you can hand down to your kids, and you can hand down to your family. It kind of be like an heirloom piece that way. I think it'd be really cool
because a
for
pocket
your family.
Because a pocket knife is a tool, and it's actually the first tool man ever made. And so that I think there's something to that in people who don't carry it, that's fine. But I've realized that when I gift a knife to somebody who maybe doesn't regularly carry, and they start carrying it, they're like, dude, I use this like 6-10 times a day, like every day. It's a very useful tool. And to not get all caught up in like survival and tactical and all this stuff, it's like just, it's a tool that you can use for a lot of different things.
Right. So Aaron, thank you for being on the channel. And, you know, we just really appreciate, you know, you being a viewer here of Man 360. And hopefully we can help you in these outdoor segments be able to kind of open your mind, or maybe think of things that you normally don't do or haven't done, that it can help encourage you to get out in the outdoors. And even like what Aaron's talking about, specifically a good tool that you can use in the outdoors like in this way.
We hope you've enjoyed the program so far. We're going to sit down with musical artist Sean B. and see his new music video in a few minutes, but first, let's head out to St. Augustine to learn a little about its history and explore this amazing city. Today, we're in the oldest city in the United States, and we'll be visiting an iconic landmark that is part of the Atlantic coast. Welcome to St. Augustine, Florida. St. Augustine is the oldest European established settlement and port in the continental United States. It was established 55 years before the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock, 43 years before the Spanish settlement at Santa Fe, New Mexico, and 42 years before the English established their colony at Jamestown, Virginia. Here's a little history on the founding of St. Augustine. On September 8, 1565, Pedro Menendez de Alvarez landed on the shore of what is now called Matanzas Bay and began the founding of the Presidio of St. Augustine. Later, the settlement would be called St. Augustine in honor of Augustine, a saint of the Roman Catholic Church on whose feast day, August 28th, the land was first sighted. For over 200 years, the city served as the capital of Spanish Florida and later became the capital of British East Florida. When Spain ceded Florida to the United States in 1819, St. Augustine was designated the capital of Florida Territory until 1924, when Tallahassee became the capital. One of the city's most familiar landmarks, the St. Augustine Lighthouse, is one of a series of lighthouses constructed along the Atlantic coastline during the mid-19th century. Replacing an even earlier lighthouse, the current tower was completed in 1874. The light boasts a first-order Fresnel lens and a spectacular view of the area. At 165 feet, it is the second highest lighthouse in Florida. The original St. Augustine Lighthouse was built between 1871 and 1874. It took 3 years to build due to lack of manpower and funds. It was first lit October 15, 1874. The first St. Augustine Lighthouse was approximately 500 yards northeast of the current lighthouse and fell into the ocean in 1880. The current location was selected due to its relatively high elevation atop an old beach dune. The lighthouse is a privately owned active aid to navigation and still lights up at night. Each lighthouse has a distinctive color or design to help mariners navigate the coast by day and a distinctive light sequence to guide ships by night. So we're excited to have musical artist Sean B. and his producer Gregatron in studio with us.
Hey, excited to be here, man.
Yes, good to have you guys.
Yeah.
So I wanted you guys to share a little bit about motivation behind getting into music and what you felt like kind of the path to where you are now. You know, what were some of those steps? And so Sean, you share a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. So I grew up in church. My grandpa was a pastor, and that went down into my home, right? And so I grew up in a super strict Christian home, talking about like you can't listen to music, don't watch Cartoon Network, like, you know, I'm talking about like I was watching VeggieTales till I was 18, man. like we were strict like that. And so, you know, with the music, if it didn't talk about Jesus, you can't listen to it. That's not okay. And so, you know, of course, as a kid and having that you know, that like for that kind of music, you know, I was like, man, but I want to listen to that kind of stuff. So what I ended up doing is, you know, I knew that music was out there, so I would find, you know, those different beats and stuff, and I would just download them and kind of put my own lyrics over them, just saying like, well, I like this beat, it's a nice little dance beat that I can vibe to, but, you know, let me take it and put something positive over it so that I can listen to it.
Yeah.
And then it worked out cool because it was me too, you know, it's like
right.
Everyone likes to listen to themselves. You know?
Yeah.
But that's kind of where it started, was just kind of like, man, I want to listen to music, but I can't, so I'm gonna figure out how to.
Yeah.
But then what it turned into from there was just kind of seeing that, oh man, like my parents were actually right, you know, like there is a lot of negative messaging in music, specifically in hip hop music, and in some of the pop and dance music, there's a lot of negative messaging in there. And so what it turned into was being able to just insert a message of positivity, insert some uplifting words, and put the message of God behind that music.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you're able to, you know, essentially preach, witness to people who wouldn't hear that message any other way except possibly through the music that you do, because it's got that feel that they like, but the words are just completely different, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Greg, what about you?
Definitely the same kind of thing. I would always just, my dad had a drum set, and so I would just play the drums, and then my grandmother got me a keyboard, and then it transitioned into playing for my church choir, and then I was introduced to Kirk Franklin.
Hey.
And I was like,
Get a revolution.
Yeah, so I mean, that's where my love of like kind of like pop music in the Christian thing just kind of came about. And so so I just worked, you know, have my own studio, and then a friend of mine, Tim over there, he introduced Sean B and I together, and so we had the same love of music. And so I mean, we just
that's awesome. It's interesting too how, you know, for both of you guys, I feel like some of the restrictions that you had actually developed who you are, that without those restrictions, it wouldn't have pushed you into doing more music, and, you know, and even the strictness of the Christian strictness in the home really helped you really to develop, you know, music that you didn't have that you wanted to listen to.
That's it, man. You know, actually, Greg and I were just talking about that the other day, about just how certain situations you develop character. You know what I'm saying? Certain things develop you, and of course, the Bible says, you know, count it all as joy. You know,
absolutely.
And so everything that you go through in life, like you said, it kind of molds you into being able to do what you want to do even better. And so, for what you had mentioned, you know, restrictions and different things like that, you know, it kind of forces you to be creative, and so your creativity, your bar's up here. And so when you get used to just being up here, then it's kind of like, all right, I'm not like reaching, this is just where I'm used to working. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and talk about the new album. You have a new album coming out that we wanted to talk about and kind of highlight real quick. Kind of talk about the motivation behind the album. And
So the new album is called To Come This Far. It released in July of last year, and it's the first album that I've ever put out, actually. Long story why it got to that point, but first album that I ever put out, and I was just super proud of every song on that track. It was just from the ground up, everything that I had wanted it to be. It has a great message. Basically what the message behind it is God did not bring you this far just to bring you this far. God doesn't do things by accident. He has a purpose. I look at the life of Joseph, specifically when I think about that message, because man, Joseph had every reason to be like, God, what are you doing in my life? Like, I've gone through all of this nonsense. I'm still serving you. Like, what's going to happen? But, you know, little did Joseph know God had a plan for him to save himself, save his family, and save the nation that he was in. God used him for great things. And so, you know, looking at that story, looking at our lives, God did not bring us this far just for the sake of bringing us this far. He always has a plan that is going to turn around and give him glory in the end. And so that was the motivation behind, you know, just the message of the album and everything.
Yeah. So Greg, and obviously you're part of that.
Yeah. So I mean, Sean would send me these ideas of songs, and he would do actually what he said, where he would send me a song that's already out that he, like maybe like a Justin Bieber song or some type of song, and he would be singing over it, and then we would just kind of take the beat out and just recreate it. It was so tight.
That's awesome. So why don't you introduce the song? We're going to watch a real quick clip of one of the songs right now. So why don't you introduce that song for us?
Hey guys, from the album To Come This Far, check out this song, Brand New by Sean B, produced by Gregatron.
Look, they think I'm going crazy. Something about me changing. Only way to explain it. I found what my soul craving. You spoke, I woke again. Took my heart and put the beat back in. Gave my world a 180 spin, and I can't believe I didn't see back then that you had the best for me. Saw deeper than I pretend to be. Showed me I could lose it all, and in the end still have everything. And I realize I got a little bit of ways to go, but I'ma hold the pace if you don't wanna race it toward. I'm facing forward and never looking back no more. Well, thank you, Lord. And now I'm living free.
Let's do our 360 review for the day. We talked with Tony Dungy and heard about how God can walk with us as men even through the most difficult times in life. I loved how transparent Tony was about his struggles and victories and how those things developed him into the man he is today. Aaron gave us some great tips and advice on choosing the right pocket knife for everyday use. We spent the day in St. Augustine, Florida, and learned some little-known facts about this jewel of the East Coast, and sat down with Sean B and his producer Gregatron to hear about what motivated them to get into music and a quick glimpse at his new music video, Brand New. If you'd like additional content from today's program, including how to find Tony Dungy's books, websites to find a great knife, or ways to purchase Sean's new album, go to man360.tv for more information and click on the Additional Content tab. You can also send us an email and give us ideas for future programs, send us prayer requests, or just let us know how we're doing. Thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to connect with us on Facebook, our website, and Instagram, and we'll see you next week right here on Man 360.